afternoon, everyone. It's Tom Sidney Bushnell, aka Numbers, here from Psych.Club and my second channel, the Tom Numbers Show. Do check that one out. I'm here with the magnificent Tarot by Janine of Sending Ravens and the fantastic Mr. Michael Jaco. How are both of you? Feels like an eternity, but it's great to see you both.
I'm good.
Yeah, doing good. Good to be back with you guys again. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
So there's as always, there's lots of things happening. But maybe we should kick off with this, and we'll keep it all safe for the channel we're on. But Janine, you mentioned that the Roe versus Wade has been decided today, and it's been, I guess, for want of a better word, rescinded, if I'm using the correct vernacular, or it's kind of, it's not what it was. It's been turned in favor of goodness. I'm wondering if we could have a look at the cards and just see kind of how this plans out, how this plays out and what it means in the big picture of things.
What are you hearing, Michael, about it? You're on the ground there.
There's nothing yet. There's one state in particular that's probably going to be a hot zone. I think a lot of states will be hot zones for this. And by hot zones, I mean there's going to be some conflict. Wisconsin is one of those. So they had basically an automatic revert back to no abortions in their state once the Roe versus Wade got overturned. So that looks like it's going to be the case. So we'll see. And I predicted as well there'd be a lot of conflict with this. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
So there's what happened. So a reversal with, but it's also karmic and destined. Okay. And it's because this was in the past, was upside down. So the whole thing was based on a lie anyway. The woman came out, the thing was rigged. Like it was, it was a plan, a ploy. So it wasn't like they like to make things look like this is about women's rights. This is about freedoms. And it's exactly the opposite. It's about their dark agenda. That's why this card was upside down. So it's a hidden dark agenda is really what it was based in. So karmically, it can't hold. Like karmically, it just got turned around. And this was the card next to the Wheel of Fortune. So that's interesting. It's swift action here. So a lot of energies spiritually came together to help this happen too. It's not just humans, right? This is a lot of spiritual energy that's like, okay, this was for demonic purposes and it isn't what it was presented to be. And it's meant to be overturned. So all of that's really interesting. Now we've got this, it seems like a bold move, especially considering Biden appears to be the president, which we know is not true, but it seems like a bold move considering the liberals are supposedly in power. So I feel like that's a big signal to who's really in power. It's like, really, you guys? Yeah, I think they're signaling. Here's the outcome, really interesting. So we've got a spiritually really, like, it's almost like this was helped along by the galactic guardians. So off-worlders, spiritual energies, entities, our future selves. Like, I feel like this was helped along. And because of that, a lot less destruction. And I feel like a lot less things are there's going to be some disappointing rioting and people still carrying, actually this was created for good reasons for humanity, when in fact we know it wasn't. It was the exact opposite, to help enslave us. But these two cards say it'll be a lot less than they planned. So the bad guys, their plan would have been to riot in 40 different states. This was the original plan, what I heard. And I feel like that's not going to happen. A lot of it's been shut down. So it'll be disappointing. You'll see I think you'll see, like you said, Michael, certain areas are hot spots where there's still some deep state influence or some rogue sort of MK'd, you know what I mean? People that could ignite riots or whatever, but I don't think it'll be anything like was planned. The deep state's going to be deeply disappointed in this.
That was outstanding, Janine. Wow. I can see why you still have a channel. Why mine gets knocked down all the time, because I come in, I just hammer it every time. But I'll be very, like Janine, I'll be very nice. I think that, you know, like she was saying, it was planned for a lot of commotion. And that commotion is not going to happen on the level that they had planned it. Now, I think that the leak that we know that happened about this possibly coming out, it was planned, I think, by the white hats to come out, not the dark hats. I think the white hats basically set it up so that the planning could start and people could see, you know, what is happening. Because if they had just come out like today and no one knew anything about it, it would have been dramatic, right?
Yep.
But now the drama is not going to be so intense. There will be drama, and I think that will be an eye opener for a lot of people. So it is an interesting thing. It was a dark agenda, and it's been overturned. I think more agendas are going to start to overcome really quickly too. We can maybe talk about some of that. Tom, what do you see for the numbers?
So it's interesting, Michael and Janine, on that. So Roe, ROE comes to 38, which is fire, which is gold, which is balance. So and then Wade is 33, which is dawn, which is magic, it's gate. But also, depending on how you say verses, because there's 3 ways to do it. You can do VS, quite often here in the UK. I don't know if in the States as well. So VS is 41, which is actually king, which is alien, which is also USA. But if you add all those together, so if you do Roe, VS, 33, Wade, that comes to 112, which comes to victory, which is interesting. But Roe VS, or gold USA, or balance USA, which effectively this is what's happening. That comes to 79, which comes to mother. So Roe VS Wade comes to mother, or the mother. So Roe VS comes to mother, 79, or the dove, as in, you know, the New Jerusalem, the dove. I picked up on that this week again. But the victory, victory equals the mother, which, you know, is kind of appropriate for the subject matter. If you take it even further, if you do the word verses, that comes to, I'm just going to double check on this. Yeah, it does. Hang on, bear with me a second. VERSUS. Yeah, it does. So I mentioned the dove, which is another name for New Jerusalem, the starship. Versus the word VERSUS comes to 104, which comes to Jerusalem.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's balancing that as well, which is probably where the help's come from, I would have thought, in many ways. So Roe 38 versus comes to 175, which comes to consciousness. Janine pulled up the Wheel of Fortune card. Whenever I think of a wheel, I always think of the Millennium Wheel here in London, the UK, because it looks quite like a Q if you look at it kind of dead on. But also that comes to 175, which is consciousness, which is Millennium Wheel, but also a real prominent woman, mother figure in this whole movement kind of here. And I would suggest maybe close connections with the mothership, with the New Jerusalem, is Diana Frances Spencer 175. So that's what those numbers come to. So Roe versus Wade, and then if you do just Roe and then V, so just V, that's 22, and then Wade, that comes to 93, which comes to Flotus, which comes to kingship. So we're talking about a mothership, but also maybe a kingship as well. Mothership, kingship, marrying of the two, you know, which is totally on point with this whole subject, you know. So it was interesting, the numbers that it churned out. Yeah, for sure.
Wow, that's impressive. Very good. So I know you keep bringing up gold, and that's interesting, because I think you know, that's kind of godlike as well. I think we're going to see a return to gold in the you know, basically the way we do the economy and how we move money around and so forth. gold-backed security and so forth. I think that's coming. That'll be interesting to see that, play out. I've seen some other people say that Big T, Mr. T, is coming back before 4 July, and I commented on that. There's a particular guy, Phil, that does this one channel, and he's talked about that, and I'm like, because it kind of lines up with some of the other things that I'm remote viewing, that there is no election in November. So something's happening in that. I had a Wano Saban on recently, and he kind of mentioned there might not be an election too. So, he throws a little hints out there, whether it lines up to things that are, going to play out. I've said for a long time, I feel this is going to be a hot summer, physically hot, and also like we just saw Roe versus Wade. It's where things are going to get hot. Emotions are going to get boiling over, types of things. So that'll be interesting to see. So if he does come back, that starts a process. This was one Phil guy was talking about how he sees the states basically decertifying this past little event that happened where Brandon's in office. And that if that does get decertified by just one state, at that point, it starts a Supreme Court action, which we just saw the Supreme Court very vigorous and, overturning something that was dark. So that's interesting, because we're starting to see this cascade event, I think, starting to come. And all of us have talked about this, that this time period right here is going to be interesting. So maybe we could, discuss that or look at that a little bit. What is Mr. T coming back soon, within July 4th, before in that period? Because Phil said he's standing behind, Mr. T coming back during that time frame. And so it'll be interesting if he does. Like I said, it's gonna overturn everything. Not only Roe versus Wade, T coming back. Oh boy, it's gonna be hot.
That would be really hot. That would be really hot. The numbers you just did on that, Michael. So hot summer comes to 132, which comes to Princess Diana. We just mentioned her. Even the thing of, you said the gold, so you picked up on my reference to gold, because Roe is 38, which is the word gold. But the gold, so Roe Wade, comes to 71, which is Lady Diana, which is interesting. But the hot summer is 165, Resurrection, and that would be incredible if that's really the case. That'd be awesome. And so President Trump's birthday, because we did the birthday. Well, the three of us are involved in it just last, the week, a couple of weeks ago almost now. And President Trump's birthday lands on the 165th day of the year. So when it's a non-leap year, which is this one, June 14th is the 165th day of the year, which comes to Resurrection, which comes to the hot summer. But then July 4th is the 185th day of the year, on a non-leap year, which is this year, and 185 comes to Book of Revelation, and it comes to global financial reset, and it comes to Donald John Trump. So let's hope.
Yeah, that'd
awesome.
Be awesome.
That'd be awesome if that's the case.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'm getting a strategy to make it a yes. So I don't get if this was first, I'd say absolutely no way around it. He's coming back, but I'd say that's the strategy right now. So I also got this in the background, which is, what Phil was saying, because I'm asking about Phil's intel, because I also watched that, and a lot of people watch Phil. I mean, he's got 3 million people watching him. Right. So this card here was in the background. So he's not making that up, and it comes from solid intel is what I'm getting, because this was also in the middle. Okay, but this isn't a 10, it's an 8. So things are put in place, and that's what they're counting on, hoping for. So if it doesn't go through, they'd have a really good reason for that not to happen. So that's one of the strategies that they're aiming. It's like they want that to happen. They're aiming for it, but they're also poised. I get this feeling of a lot of poised. So I wonder if people could comment under the video if they see military poised in their area, because I get this feeling of everybody's on standby and everything's ready to go down. And it would, if it got held up, so they've got these two held up cards, it would have to be something really a really big deal to hold it up.
Wow,
that's incredible, Janine. So that's kind of way I feel, because if you're in a ship, you're in a battleship, and you're steaming ahead, and you're like getting ready to, like tear some stuff up and change things, and you see some torpedoes in the water coming on as you're coming in, you're gonna like curve off so those torpedoes go, and then you'll get back online. So it might be that it's not quite the 4th of July thing, but because of something like that happening, and we don't know, but we're going to hear about a lot of these things have happened where they had to they were coming out and they were had to cut it at the last minute. So we'll see some of that, whether this time, because these guys have been lining stuff up and getting things in order. I think this could be the one. So Roe versus Wade coming out could set the stage, because you'll probably have to have National Guard called out to make sure things don't get out of control. So if the National Guard's already out, and then you come out with, oh yeah, the decertification of the election, then it starts to roll into that. That's my feel. That's my intuition on that. What I'm feeling when I look at. But like you just said, Janine, something could happen where it's not guaranteed, and that's the way it is when you're in war. You're never you have these incredible plans. I've been in so many missions where you come in and if things change when you hit the ground, and if you're not flexible. Now, if everybody's like, well, you said you're going to, well, we would have all died. No, we're not going to do that. So you have to be flexible in these types of events.
Yeah, that's why I really appreciate doing shows with you, Michael, because you bring that perspective for people. Mm-hmm. Because you know what it's like to be in these kind of situations, what this White Hat Alliance group is up against. You've been in those situations. I've not personally been in situations like that, only in a more personal way, but nothing like what you've experienced. So it's so important to bring that perspective, because so many people need to hear that.
Thank you.
Yes. Also, as well, you mentioned the Supreme Court, Michael, and the numbers on Supreme. So Supreme is 97, which is beautiful, which is Kennedys with an S, Kennedys, plural. Court is 77, which is power. It's hertz as in frequency. The building where JFK in 63, you'll see the advertisement above the book depository was hertz, saying 77, because 77 is also Christ as well. So Supreme Christ or Supreme Court comes to 174, and 174 is the very first code that we ever saw when President Trump and Melania came down the escalators on June 16, 2015. 5 days after I met Ivanka, actually in person in Manhattan. I met her on June 11th. But it says currency exchange in Trump Tower, and I've been there. I've got a little video on my channel of it, but everyone knows the place that I'm talking about. But it's a currency exchange. The currency exchange comes to 174, but it also comes to trust the plan. It comes to eye of the storm, and it also comes to the age of Aquarius, and it also comes to an interesting date, which is November 6th. And when so November is 94, which is John. 6th is 80. Spencer, it's a few other things, but yeah, them together comes to November 6th. And there's a few things that are coming to my mind with that. I think I might have mentioned this on some shows. I did it with Mark Atwood. I might have done it with you as well, Janine. But the Batman movie that came out earlier this year, the culmination of that film happened in Madison Square Gardens, where the boxing event, other theater, sports and music events, iconic venue on Fifth Avenue, which is 125, John Kennedy, time travel, dark to light, 125. But it happened, the culminating event happened on November 5th. And November 5th is a big date because November 5th is, always remember the 5th of November. November 5th is 143, which spells the word ground zero, spells the word building 7, or words, building 7, spells Melania Trump. Paul Bushnell, my cousin, is 143. He's part of the numbers for me. But it's also November 5th, which is this date. It also comes to the word Kryptonian, which I've heard in the last few days as well, which we might talk about a little bit later. But after this event that happens at Madison Square Gardens, where kind of it's almost like a near-death experience, but Batman saves the day. And then the next day, where everything kind of settles and is calm, is November 6th. So I don't know if I was talking to Jean I was talking to Janine just off camera just a little while before we came on, and I mentioned I keep seeing these dates, so maybe we can have a look at it. But I always see stuff around August 29th, a bit around July 4th because of Independence Day, obviously September 11th and November 5th and stroke 6th. I always see those as really important dates, and whether they're actual dates or they're phrases in the numbers and they're connected, but I always see those. So I'm wondering, with the card that Janine got about, instead of it being a 10, it's an 8, it's the intention, but as you described, the torpedo, you know, it might take a little bit longer, but it might be the kind of beginning of the domino starting to fall, and it might culminate then. I don't know, but I'm worried maybe we can have a look at some of those potentials.
Well, big things going on, all those dates.
Okay, cool.
Much energy or activity around. This is like our sort of a good military, especially if it's coming with the strength card, but something that's been around for a really long time. So I'm getting the feeling more of an off world, because these are major arcana. So I don't think we're talking entirely human military. So okay. I'm thinking super soldiers, the good kind. I'm thinking, you know, like the galactic helpers, think of those kind of soldiers. Okay, so something around those kind of soldiers, especially in your August date. So the August 29th date has something to do with sort of more, take it up from the kind of military that would be the human military. I'm talking maybe galactic military, if that makes any sense, right? Okay,
it does. It does.
So your 11th date, so September 11th date, that feels like there's a lot more freedom. We're experiencing a new level of freedom as humans then, because she's completely free. Like this was drawn in the 1400s, and she's a woman with a falcon, which would have been really rare then. She also isn't wearing a corset or low cleavage. You know how they used to dress up women, displaying all their wares, you know, basically in the outfit. Okay, and she's standing and facing front. There's a whole bunch of clues in here, in, you know, for the day. It's, and also all the pentacles, so money. So she has her own money and doesn't have to marry and or a kind of solicit her sexuality to get a good partner. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So back in those days, that would have been a very rare. So she has her own abundance, and she can choose even not to marry and or choose not to, she doesn't need any help. Okay, so that's going to be the human race. We're going to be, and this card's a gateway. We're going to be a lot more further ahead for financial abundance and or independence, or both. Independence from a system that's, I think, enslaved us. So the money system, a big independence from the money system at that time.
That's cool, because Falcon, Falcon, Falcon is 51, which is Jasara. It's also Batman, and I just mentioned the film Batman with that. And even what pops into my head is Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. Millennium is where we're going into the 1,000 years of peace, the golden age, you know, and the age of Aquarius. Millennium Falcon is actually 173. If you did a Millennium Falcon, it takes you to 174, that magic number that we just did, which takes you to November 6th. So that's really interesting and fascinating. And also the thing about, you said about soldiers for August 29th, Janine. So we've done shows, and Michael, I'm sure, has probably heard of him, but there's a new guy on the block in town, Ishmael Perez, and he's come with a lot of interesting and fascinating information. And if you do the numbers on Ishmael Perez, it comes to 129, which comes to Judgment Day. And one of my favorite films, Terminator, and particularly Terminator 2, Judgment Day is August 29th. And that's why I always go on about it. And it's actually the 241st day of the year, which comes to President John F. Kennedy. And they even reference it in the film Tenet. They call it, they talk about the plutonium-241. Plutonium's 141, which is Looking Glass. Yeah, but yes, you know, super soldiers of the humankind and non-humankind. Yeah, August 29th is 129, Judgment Day. Yeah.
Judgment. So that's the judgment card. So waking people from the dead.
Yeah.
We've got, and look at that flag. Interesting.
Yeah.
But that's a spiritual. So as soon as you see wings in the tarot, you got a spiritual creature energy of some kind, right? So a spiritual energy. So the universe is waking you up. So something non-human or off-world, waking up the sleepers. Look at them. They're so asleep. They're in their coffins already.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a wake-up call card. And when it shows up, no matter where it shows up in the reading, it means pay attention. Things are happening that can't be reversed. So you have to be conscious and aware and don't sleep through this. This is huge.
Yeah.
That's kind of the message of the card.
Wow. And Judgment is 99, which is Patriot, which is also Ascension, which, you know, which is cool. And that's that flag is probably a number of flags, but it's the English flag. It's the flag of St. George, and England is 57, which is Tesla. George is 57. Yeah.
Yep.
Fascinating. Tom, your numbers are really, you're rocking the numbers these days. This is the best I've heard you on your numbers. Good job.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. It's nice to get the correlations with Janine's cards and just other stuff that we're getting from other people and sources, because I don't know, the only way to think about it, well, I just have this kind of vision of New York and all kinds of magical things happening around a cluster of these sorts of dates. And I think they'll happen elsewhere as well, but for some reason, New York seems to be a pinnacle position. And I think hence because of things like, September 11th and other things in films and the Tesla hotels there and many things. And they keep dropping them in all these films, you know, the Spider-Man. Oh, that was another one, Spider-Man. So Spider-Man, I think I've mentioned this before, but prior to what happened in 2001, I think of that, even the name of the, you know, that's another great film, Space Odyssey with Kubrick, you know, 2001, they were telling us something there. But so there was a trailer of Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, and it showed Spider-Man caught some crooks in his spider's web, but the spider's web was massive. It spread across between the two towers, and then what happened a few months later? They took that trailer out or they took that bit out of the film, but you can still see the trailer. But the interesting thing about that is the word Spider-Man comes to 99, which comes to Ascension, which comes to Judgment, which comes to Patriot, and we had that Judgment card around those dates. So I was like, okay, yeah. It's all connected. It's all connected.
Wasn't there a 666 around the Roe versus Wade reversal? That was circulating a lot.
Yeah, I saw that as well. And I can't remember what it was. I saw that. You're right. Yeah, I saw something about that.
Yeah,
Did you see that, Michael?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that. I think I call them demon rats, but Democrats are going to push this issue very hard, and I think it's going to backfire on them. I think a lot of people aren't in agreement with this because I see a lot of stuff, and I see the way people are moving as far as protection of children, because I know all of us have been exposing a lot of stuff, and I think the pushback on trying to push back on that is going to be a backfire for them. So if we do get to midterm elections and they do go off, then I think they get and Brandon is still in office at that point. I think that they get hammered in the midterm, even though they're still manipulating things, just like they did in Georgia just recently. So all the Trump people, Trump has been picking, people that he recommends. For some reason in Georgia, none of them, were picked. So that it seems to be still an issue happening in Georgia. When Wino Saban came in and talked on my show recently, he talked about mafia groups and so forth, Dixie Mafia, and it all kind of comes to Georgia, all intersects at Georgia. So he's saying, watch Georgia. So I'm curious to see, he's saying, watch Georgia. I've had guests on talk about that were actually, are pointing out the things be happening there just recently. It all happened on the same day that shooting happened at that school. So we know that they use things to cover things up. So lots of correlations there, I believe. So how about Georgia? Why are all eyes on Georgia for? Is this going to be another thing where, maybe this box that gets utilized in a negative way gets taken down? And if that happens, and it basically folds all across the country, and that's a complete turnaround if that happens.
Sorry, Janine, as well. Did you have something to say when you brought up the 666 as well?
I just thought it was a signal.
Okay.
So it tells me the white hats had everything to do with when this got reversed and just when it got announced and everything, because they're telling us it's demonic. This thing was created to create a whole industry of products created from humanity. We'll just say it like that so we don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
Right. It had nothing to do with women's rights, but it gets played like that. So you look like you're against women's rights if you talk against it. Right. That's what they do. They create things like this. You couldn't say anything against certain groups because you're going to be a racist. You can't say, like, they create that over time. Right. So if you do speak out against things that are wrong, that are happening, and you look like a certain thing, right? And this is where they created that whole woke situation, all the wokies. I mean, I'm getting in so much trouble from all my super woke, and I love my friends, but a whole bunch of them are really woke. Do you know what I mean? And they spout stuff like systemic racism and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just sitting there going, okay, you guys, you got to wake up. That stuff's been told to you, and it's been presented in a certain way that it's fooling you. These are really good people, by the way, who I absolutely love, but they haven't figured it out right. So it's like, oh man, that's where the work's going to be. Yeah. And so I think that's why they plant these numbers and they plant these things in there, so you understand what you're dealing with, really, what's really going on.
Yeah. You say watch Georgia, Michael. So just some numbers on that. Georgia is 62. Comes to Queen. Watch is 55. JFK, JR, Heather, Melania. But it's allowed. But it's a 5-5 military terms. It's allowed clear signal. But just watch Georgia comes to 127, which actually comes to the ace of spades. And it also, if you say November 5th, but if you say it November 5th, so if you just write it November 5th, November 5th comes to 127, the ace of spades. And that's the top, that's the most powerful ace in the deck of cards. It's the spiritual, the one for forgiveness, the one for debt forgiveness, and resurrection as well, and all to do with finances. And if I have got this right, if I remember rightly, it's also, what would that be? It's also, from September 11th to November 5th. So those, the three key dates I mentioned, August 29th. It's 13 days after August 29th. Is September 11th, and some think that there's a difference on the Julian calendar of that. I've heard other versions of it, but some seem to think the Julian and the Gregorian, there's 13-day difference, but others have said other things as well. But if you go from September 11th through to November 5th, and we've always been told here in English culture at least, and probably globally, always to remember the 5th of November. November 5th September 11th, that's 55 days. So I don't know if Juan is coding as well, because he does talk in a lot of codes. But maybe he's talking literally, watch Georgia, but he also might be saying, watch Queen. But there might be another code as well, because there's a connection 55 days between September 11th up until November 5th. And Janine's pulled a lot of cards already that are confirming the power of those dates. So
I got some really interesting cards on Georgia. So I asked why watch Georgia, and I'm getting there's a plot by the good guys to get it to look a certain way. So there's gossip and innuendo and worry and stress for no reason. Okay, so I feel like a lot of what's actually happening there was created and planned by the good guys to either out people, because we've got that ace. It's going to work to the advantage of freedoms, because there's that card again. This was around it, freedom and strength for the US. So even though it looks bad, or what's going on there looks bad, I feel like it's either another, like I want to say the word honeypot. So I don't know what I mean by that. So are they tricking people to believe something's going on because they're going to out something because of it? It's going to work to the advantage of Americans for their freedoms and strength.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Because we're also coming up on a date, I think it's September 3rd, where the ballots from 2020, there's a cutoff date where they have to be held. And I think September 3rd, around that time frame, is where they no longer have to hold them, so they can dispose of that evidence. So I think that's another reason why things are coming to a head very quickly, I think, in a lot of ways.
Is there anything around Tyler Perry Studios, the film studios in Georgia? Janine, maybe we could look at the cards on that, when you're saying they're trying to create something that is okay, but they're trying to get some kind of reaction. I'm wondering if it's got anything to do with the Tyler Perry Studios, because that has a duplicate White House. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there'd be anything to do with that.
So while she's doing that, I looked at where abortion is illegal in the world, and it's like almost half the world is illegal. Or to save a woman's life, a lot of places, pretty much everywhere, you save a woman's life. There's no restriction there. That's almost 100% around the world. But as far as just out and out, doing it, it's pretty much South America, Central America, all of Africa, pretty much in the Middle East, and Indonesia and so forth. You can't just do it.
So it was really a first world Western issue, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, I'm looking at there still seems to be let me see what this country is in Great Britain, to preserve the health or on socio-economic grounds. It looks like the same thing in Finland. Looks like another European country, but pretty much all of Europe, Russia, and some of them are like you don't have restrictions, but up to a certain time, like up to like the 15th week, then it's you can't do it after that. So there's kind of like a lot like we're talking about first world, it's like you can do it, but up to a certain point.
Yeah.
Whereas in America, basically you just, 3 weeks after, the child's born, in some states you can still do an abortion. That's crazy, so it's getting a little out of control.
Yeah, that is outrageous. That is unbelievable.
What states was that in?
I think I don't know if it was voted, but I think it was in like Virginia. They were looking at it. I don't know if it was voted in, but they were looking at it. Another one was I think New York. New York is like, I think they lit up the Empire State Building because they allowed it all the way up to the point of birth. And California was looking at 3 weeks after. I don't know if it was voted in or not, but there's several states that are looking at that. And I don't follow that. I was like,
That's when the people need to wake the up.
And I think that's part of it too. Yeah. Because that's
about freedoms there. That is like murdering. Like, and I do believe in, there are special cases where I think it's absolutely necessary to have that procedure. I am not one of those people that is against it from the get-go, but I gotta tell you, that looks like an agenda. And when you start seeing that, you know, this is not about women's health anymore. This is a demonic practice, and they're utilizing, you know, they're turning it, these infants into products.
Money making machine. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, anyway, what you asked, somebody asked a question.
Yeah, about anything you were saying that to do with Georgia, they're going to maybe create something or to make it look a certain way. And I was wondering if it's got anything to do with the carbon copy of the White House at the Tyler Perry Studios in Georgia.
Okay, interesting, because it was fought over. So that studio was a kind of, some kind of fight went on over the studio, and it's been it is now in the hands of the White Hats. So I don't know when it was a dark hat situation, but now it's a white hat situation. So anything going on there is going to be their agenda now. So these guys' agenda. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I feel like anybody who's still working there or going there and filming or whatever, they're part of the movie, is what I'm going to say about that.
Yeah. Okay. Can we look at some of the things that have come up recently with the videos? A lot of us have done shows with Ismail, and some interesting scenarios come up. One of the things I'm wondering about is the solar flare or the solar flash, Janine. I wonder if we can maybe have a look at that and see when. Well, I know it's dates, but maybe, I don't know, maybe it's an open question, but any kind of clarification around the solar flare, the solar flash event, the grand solar flare, however you want to call it.
Okay, and can I just ask Michael a question first?
Yes.
Michael, what are your feelings having also experience with Super Soldier program and just coming from all the experiences you've had in your life? What are you feeling about Ismail Perez?
I like it because what he's doing is like what a lot of us have been doing is we're having these memories come through. His seem to be really, really good. So when we talk about them, it helps activate other people that have been suppressed or, had those memories wiped. It's like a computer hard drive, it never gets completely wiped, but it goes blank, but there's still the information still there. Mm-hmm. So a lot of us are starting to have those memories come through. So, she's been on this for like 15, 20 years, with Super Soldiers coming in and talking. She's one of the first ones I remember having shows, and it's been slowly activating a lot of us that have memories. So as more people speak out, more people are getting activated. So I'm going to have more people coming on my show that are starting to get activated, and we're just going to have the discussion just like he did. I think it's fantastic, because I think that as this control system gets taken away, that all of that's been going on outside of our realm of knowledge gets revealed on a level that's just going to blow everybody away. Because there's amazing technologies out there, there's amazing abilities, and just all of these things have been suppressed and kept from us. So once this dark prison planet is basically taken down, then we get all of that information. And the Super Soldiers, I think, because like me, like Ismail, like all the others that are coming out and talking, we are going to be like the go-between, to start to bring that through. So people see us, and we're having this conversation, and people are like, oh, okay, and then we start bringing out more information like we're doing, and people are like, oh, I can see that. It's going to take some time, but I think it's going to be massively revelatory for a lot of people coming up.
Mm-hmm. So to get back to Tom's question, you were asking about the solar flash or the solar flare and just what do I get around it kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah.
So the first thing I got, this was in the past. So it's really close because that's a 9. 9 turns into a 10, which is now it's upon us. And this is in the past. So we're really close. Like that card says you got one more, he's got one more stick. He needs one more of those sticks, okay? And then it's a 10.
Give him
okay.
a stick.
Yeah,
Give him that stick.
So that means I feel like we're really close. And then we've got this ace. So it's sometime in 2022, because that's within the next year when you get a card like that. And an ace, and this is in the now. So I feel like it's upon us really soon. Okay. And then this 4 and this world, or I mean the Fool. So I don't feel like it's exactly at a set date. Some things probably have to be in place in the universe. Exactly. Like it's almost like maybe it doesn't have a destined exact time. It's more about things that are happening have to happen. So a few things might have to happen first, then it happens. Okay, so I don't know exactly what that is because I'm not, privy to that. That's nature's knows, but I don't know. So because I believe it is a natural occurring thing. And my thoughts on it are it got seen in the future by both the dark hats and the white hats. And then it's gonna be, so it might have been the dark hats might have tried to manipulate it or use it to their advantage, but I feel like it got taken over by white hats who have taken out a lot of the heads of the dark hats, if you're following, and they are now they're going to ride the wave, let's say, of the solar flare and utilize it somehow and work their stuff around it so that they can utilize the energy of it in a positive way. That's what I get. They're going to harness it. But anyway, so that's what this looks like. So they're waiting to harness it for the good of humanity. And I feel like it could be this fall even, my feelings are it's September, October. When I feel around it, that's what it feels like.
Wow. Wow. It's interesting, the numbers on, so if you do solar flash, so solar is 65, flash is 46, which is best. So the best is yet to come, or the flash is yet to come. But that comes to 111, which is perfection, which is New York. And if you do solar flare, flare is 42, which is new. That comes to 107, which is quantum, which is Trump's, which is military, which is currency, which is Aquarius, which is Superman. So they're both really super powerful numbers on the board, 111 and 107, which is quantum. So whether it's solar flare or solar flash 111, they're all pretty amazing, yeah. And I just did the numbers on super soldiers. So super soldier is 161, which is interesting. So the picture I have of me and Ivanka, Tom is 48, Ivanka's 58. You add those together is 106. But then just to the side is a golden 55. And I always used to think it was Melania 55. But it's that number 55 again coming up, which is a loud, clear signal. But if you add 55, then it takes you to 161, which is super soldier. But super soldiers with an S takes you to 180. So a 180 flip. But also, if you do the super soldier, it's 194 again, which is New Yorker hotel. 194 is also 1955, which is a date reference in Back to the Future. It says November 5th, 1955. That's when he discovered time travel. But I don't know necessarily if that's a real date. It might be. I don't know if they're going to take us back in time, or maybe it's just a code. Maybe it's something to do with the super soldiers. And 143, November 5th is ground zero. It's also November 5th. But I don't know. Maybe it's around September 11th, and maybe super soldiers are involved in that whole process. I don't know. But it's interesting that the super soldiers is 194, which again is a super powerful number connected to Tesla, because it's the New Yorker hotel, which is where Tesla was in Manhattan. in Manhattan. Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting, Janine. I'm hoping it is. I'm hoping it is 222. I'm hoping it's this year for sure. That'd be incredible. Yeah.
So the super soldiers we see the superheroes. It's a lot of the super soldier stuff is kind of like, the superhero stuff is like a reveal.
Yeah.
So a lot of the technologies and abilities that are happening on the other side with the super soldiers. So that is interesting, because a lot of people look up to the superheroes, and when they find that the superheroes are actually real, they're going to go, oh wow, that's okay. So that kind of helps, the reveal come forward a lot faster. So that's part of it. Now, as far as the solar flash, I've always seen it as a positive as well. I know there's a lot of people that have talked about that being a negative, and taking down the world. That's a black hat operation. So the solar flash event is basically a rising of consciousness event when you ride the wave correctly. So that's being set up so that we ride that wave correctly and don't get, stuck in the baddies basically, get there, because they've done this before, where they keep us suppressed in consciousness, and well, not necessarily conscious, but knowing what's coming, and then they get the benefits of it and then come back and control us after everything gets cleaned up. Yep. This time we rewrite it, and it's going to be quite phenomenal, I believe.
Yeah.
I think that was the whole agenda with the 17th letter of the alphabet, waking people up. Yeah. And not to say there wasn't some people awake, but it en masse woke up a whole lot of people, right? And gives us something to look at, point back to. And I think the agenda was, so they knew this was coming, and they needed to get enough people so they could, like you said, Michael, ride the wave properly. So what I interpret that as, correct me if I'm off on this, but my feeling about that is that you stay connected to source and visualizing and stay in on the right side of this thing. That's how you ride the wave properly. And if you're literally still rah-rahing the agendas of the dark, and if you're still okay with being enslaved, if you're still putting your arm out for more, products, and you believe in your government still, and you're pushing their agendas, I feel like that's not riding the wave properly. I feel like that's when could be in some trouble.
That's great. I agree with that. Yep. So the 17th letter alphabet is interesting, because they had said that Israel will be last. It looks like Israel just dissolved their government, and there's some talk about that being the last thing we're waiting for before everything starts to flip. So there's all of these different things we're talking about. Things are going to move very quickly. So the 17th letter alphabet had said that Israel would be last. Is this possibly that thing they were talking about, where Israel has dissolved their government? Because I think that Israel government was definitely a baddie government. They really pushed some bad things on their people recently. They couldn't pass a budget and all kind of crazy stuff. So now, are we going to see the good guys move in? And that's their last. They're the last ones. So I think everywhere around the world, everyone's situated and gotten in place to remove the baddies. And in a lot of cases have already been removed, and there's just someone that's a puppet playing that role right now until everything can move forward in unison. So I think I think the 17th letter of the alphabet was correct, as far as like Israel will be last, and we just saw that transpire. So that's an indicator that we're on track and everything's going to happen pretty quick now.
I think you're right. I think even though it might be hard there, and I'm sure it is hard to be there when your government collapses, it's going to be way better because of it. Okay, because I get those guys badly connected with, and largely there's a whole lot of activity around party substance creating there. Things to do with 12 and unders. And I feel like that's a really bad hub, or was a really bad hub for that. So I feel like that happening. And what's shadow governing and stepping up there, you'll notice, is because this is the near future. So this is the galactic helpers. This is the wise ones from our future selves. So they're going to get a lot of help from the what we call the alliance. And of course, I think the white hats are already placed all over the world. Their militaries all over the world. That's what I believe anyway. So it feels like it's just a matter of time. These guys are going to step out and show themselves. They've been hidden and they're going to step out and show themselves. They just had to collapse that bunch first.
Also, when you were talking about superheroes, Michael, Super is 79, which is the dove we spoke about at the beginning. And Hero again is 46. So when we talk about the best is yet to come, or the hero is yet to come, that makes sense. And Superhero is 125, which is dark to light, time travel, John Kennedy, and it's also 8th Avenue, where the Nikola Tesla Hotel is, the New Yorker Hotel. So New Yorker Hotel again is 194, which is the super soldiers. Yeah. So yeah, again, a nice correlation with that. The superheroes is 182, which is the flux capacitor. And that takes me back to the thing of Back to the Future. And just literally before everything changes, they mention the flux capacitor and they say this is the thing that makes time travel possible. And time travel was 125 superhero, but the superheroes 182, all connected into the super soldiers. And so yeah, maybe it is like you say, Janine, all these people are suddenly going to appear, and they've been in the shadows, but then we're going to know about them pretty soon. And we've seen maybe some of that recently, and I think and hope we might see a lot more of that to come. So yeah, that'd be awesome. And then beyond, once we're into if everything happens this year, what do we see next year, and what do we see the year after that? Anything on that in the cards? What do we have to look forward to?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, because there's so many dreary reports out there, and I get it. I do think it is going to be hard. I think things are going to be hard. And you're going to see the food shortages. You're going to see we got that diesel oil situation, but I feel like that gets righted just in the nick of time. I feel like a lot of stuff's been hidden underground. Like I'm thinking they're hoarding things and hiding things. And I don't know I'm sure it was a dark hat op to begin with, but I feel like this has all been taken over for the most part by the good guys, or they're aware of it at least. So they know they can bring out the solution instead of these bad guys bringing us the solution and then locking us down more. So I feel like it's all of these agendas got flipped on the bad guys. One by one, you're seeing them fail, like this Roe versus Wade thing. I feel like all the riots they had planned and paid off all of those Antifa / Black Lives Matter players that are mostly just bought soldiers for this bunch, you know what I mean, or programmed or whatever. I feel like a lot of that's been undone. You'll see it. I do feel like that, but nothing like they wanted. They wanted it to take down the states. They wanted the US to go down in flames. So they begged for the government to, do everything for them. They had it all planned, take every little bit of freedom. And everything's failing. Like all of those false flappy things, I call them, because I don't want to, like they're just literally outing them, like all of those recent rash of things to do with weaponry. They outed them within days. The truth was like, it got so confusing that nobody could even follow, because there was no logic to what they were putting out there in the media. It didn't make any sense. You're like, okay, none of this makes sense. So nobody's paying attention. Have you noticed? Like there's not a lot of yelling about those things. Why? Because even in real sleepers they'd know that there's something fishy going on there.
So I get that March of next year starts to clear. Now, when we had the dancing in the streets, in Canada and a lot of places all over the world, when we had the convoys and stuff, the trucker convoys, I said several months before that, I see dancing in the streets, but then it goes dark again. So I didn't know what that was. And then we saw, the dancing in the streets in Canada, which was beautiful, but then they suppressed that. But I see in March, basically a revival type situation where the light starts coming in and it increases and increases, and it doesn't get shut down again. So this last little stretch we have up until March is what I see. From March on, it clears, gets brighter and brighter, and just keeps going. It doesn't end.
I think I'm going to have to agree with you there, Michael. So this is the past, the present. So the past is, this is my Mr. T in the white hats. So he was in, like that bunch is in the background. Okay. And I'm not saying it's just Mr. T. I'm talking about the Alliance and what we call the white hats, who apparently have been around a lot longer than I thought at first. Like according to Ishmael and lots of other intel, we're not just, because people have been talking about this for a long time, but the white hats, she says the white hats, at least she knows of them for 20 years. So you can be sure they've been around, maybe even as long as the bad guys, right? So there's been a good, the light working on behalf of humanity as long as the dark's been working on it, right? So that's kind of what I get. But anyway, they're firmly in control more than they were, that's for sure, in the past. So that already happened, it looks like. Then we've got this card here, and this is, so organized chaos. So this is the past. So we got these guys more in control, at least, than the bad guys. Now we've got this card here, which usually I call my dark hat card or my deep state, but it's really well aspected with the this card first of all. So now I'm not going to talk about it that way. I'll talk about it the other way. You can talk about this card. The Hierophant is about organized chaos. So there's going to need to be a lot of things are going to happen really fast when this card shows up. This is in the now, and there's going to be a whole bunch of things that have already been planned that just go one at a time. Maybe this Roe versus Wade's there's been a lot of firsts, but that could be a big thing. So dominoes start to fall right now and things get a little chaotic because this card's also about chaos. So we're going to have to really rise above and stay in our spiritual energy, because there's probably going to be gut punches. That's with all the fake things that have already been planned, like a near-death experience of, I even think that solar flare could feel like a near-death experience, by the way. Juan O'Sullivan's talked about that for quite a while. Like, I feel like that could, if you're not really prepared for it, that's going to feel like something like the end of the world. Okay. But then things get on the other side of that. So now this is putting things back together. So when the dust settles from some of those really intense things, so like a hot summer, you better believe it. Who said that? Was that you?
That was Michael. Yeah.
Michael. Yeah, a hot summer is right. Hierophant is like, or chaotic, a whole bunch of stuff just all gets thrown at us, but at least it's from the good guys, not the bad guys, even if it looks scary. Okay, so remember that, everybody. Now we're starting to put things together and we're holding our own as humans. We're holding our own, and we've got 70%. We feel like we're really more in control here. So we start piecing things back together. This is the hidden influence. So staying spiritually intact and secrets coming out. So huge outing of all the secrets that have been kept from us. That's going to be the big clincher that changes everything, is when people find out what's really been going on, what really the agenda of Roe versus Wade was really about, what really has been going on under the White House, what really has been going on in all royal families, who's really been ruling the world and what they've been doing to us. So that's going to be huge. So this coming out is going to make the whole difference, because that's the hidden influence card. When that stuff comes out, so going into the next year, this is the advice. So we got to get this guy seated again, Mr. T seated again. That's when everything starts coming out. Okay. and it will still be putting the world back together. So it looks like he's seated. This has already all happened by this time next year. The world's getting put back together, and we're going to have to really be strategic about how we put it back together. So nothing like this ever happens again. We never get into this situation. So it looks like a lot of hard work, and we're going to have to be really strategic, because now everybody's reality's been replaced with a whole new reality. We'll probably have to re-educate and, really have a lot of format like what we're doing here, where people have to come to get caught up to speed. So I think it's going to be a lot of hard work, honestly, but at least we've got our freedoms back, and we're not ruled by dark hats, and our governments have fallen. That's the Hierophant. That's what's going to happen next, is all the governments are going to get exposed and the truth comes out. I feel like all of that's already happened by this time next year, and we're just putting it back together, and it's hard work. Beautiful.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I've got a question. I wanted to see what the card said on this, Janine, and see what you think of this, Michael. So Project Bluebeam, I've heard that that's now under white hat control, as with pretty much everything else. I'm thinking, could it be possible that part of the emergency broadcast could be Project Bluebeam under white hat control? Because if you want to get everybody to remember something really kind of biblical and that no one can argue about, they can't miss it on a TV or a broadcast or in fact, could they do something like Project Bluebeam and do full disclosure? So all of us at the same time see and hear about this. And then it's like, there's no argument anymore, I'm just wondering if that's a possibility. Is that even in the plans? I'm wondering what the cards might think on that, Janine.
I think that would be brilliant. I could definitely see, because I believe it is in their control too. I didn't see Project Bluebeam coming in as a negative. So if they were to use that, because the technology is so much more advanced now. Yeah. If they were to use it now, like you're describing, that's brilliant. I think that would be quite, because then people would see that technology is like on a different level. So you're basically killing two birds with one stone, so to speak. You're taking, you're knocking out the bad guys and all their crimes, and you're also showing, look at this technology, and we have it now, and that would be celebratory, I believe.
I think it would. And the numbers on that, Project Bluebeam is 148, Donald J. Trump. Scriptures, so biblical. Also simple gematria 148. So it all tallies up.
Yeah, I also get something that's been kept from us and utilized against us. So the media, they're also going to be utilized by the good guys. So they're going to take over the media. So I don't know if that's a yes on would that be Project Bluebeam, like taking over the medias? I don't know. I don't know how it works, but that's what I get.
I think it's like, from what I understand, it's the ability to kind of project things in the sky. You could probably do like a massive kind of global cinematic event, and maybe like you said, maybe it's through the media, because that's what people got blue pilled through the media. So the media would be a great kind of way to reverse that. But then something just kind of unarguable would be, I think, maybe an event in the sky, because there's a sky event coming as well, according to Q. Sky event is 121, which is Golden Jubilee, Second Coming, and it's also Revelation. So, to reveal a sky event, Revelation 121 would be pretty cool. It looked like you got some more cards there, Janine.
Oh, I was just shuffling them up again to get them cleared.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. And I think you're right. Okay, we've got the star. So they're going to have the help of off-worlder and or like galactic sort of intervention. Well, that sounds like Project Bluebeam to me. Yeah. So anyway, I think you guys are getting it right. Absolutely. Yeah.
The other cool thing about that is Project Bluebeam emergency broadcast comes to, well, emergency broadcast is 178, and 148 is Project Bluebeam. Together it's 326, and that comes to the second coming of Jesus Christ. and you can do other values for Jesus Christ as well. But if you think of, Christ consciousness, and that would be kind of a biblical, remarkable event, however way they kind of pull it. Yeah, it's something. I'm thinking it's like when they locked the world in 2020, that was a massive event, and everyone bought into that, and we all did, but something way bigger than that and kind of more magical than that and inspiring. So maybe it's a reveal on the kind of the alien, the off-worlder stuff, maybe, Janine. Yeah, sorry,
because I get secrets are revealed that change everything and everybody's perception, and truths revealed that have been long hidden. So even truths about the true identity of Jesus, even.
Yeah.
And maybe there are some off-world energy. I mean, how the seeding of the human race, I mean, it's going to change everything about, because don't forget, they took all of the major books in any organized religion, sort of dogma, and they, put their own agendas into it. Right. So you can't word for words speak that out unless you got one that wasn't touched by this bunch. Okay. So, and it's all manipulated. I mean, we know that now. So I think the true story could come out, because then I'm getting this card, which is truth comes out. Like, so the secrets get revealed. Okay. The truth about who Jesus really was and what really was going on there. Maybe he was the ultimate star seed. I mean, I don't know, a very evolved soul with a lot of really wise wisdom. Maybe he was the ultimate galactic helper. I mean, maybe he's a version of our future self that we could touch and feel and talk to. Do you know what I mean? It visualize. But so I feel like it's going to be different anyway, and I could offend a lot of really dogmatic Christians and dogmatic about their religions. Could be in a little bit of trouble here for sure.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, imagine, everyone loves, 4th of July or the New Year. You go outside and you see all the fireworks, and you got whole cities that come out and watch that. Imagine Project Bluebeam comes in and starts giving the revelatory information through that process, this massive, and maybe some spaceship comes and beams it in. It's like, wow, that would be like super cool. I think that's coming in the future, whether it happens, for the revealing that comes up. It definitely is something that's coming. So I really think you hit on something really good, Tom. I feel that's definitely coming.
And there's a lot of pictures, people sending me photographs of cloud formations that are as clear as a bell. You are seeing like formations of craft. But they're like sort of vaguely looking a bit like clouds. It's almost like the cloud cover, like that way that they cloak themselves is starting to thin. Let's say the veil's thinning.
Yeah.
Right.
Very nice. Yeah.
Even that the second Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, they've got the last kind of third part of the film, and it's Cloud City, and they're showing how I know they're not spaceships, but kind of they almost look like spaceships, and it's a city within the clouds, and so maybe that's not too far off from the reality. It seems like everything they've kind of told us in science fiction at some level seems to have truth or be the truth, and I guess time will tell when we discover more and more, but that just definitely seems to be, the sightings of things seem to be increasing for sure. There's a lot of that going on now, even amongst kind of normies. I've had people say, oh yeah, I thought I saw this, I thought I saw that, and I'm like, it's coming. Good. Well, any other questions before we wrap up?
No, I think this is an amazing show. It's going to be one of those shows I think a lot of people refer to, things that are upcoming, and the three of us I think did a really good job of presenting things that could be coming, and will be coming in some way or fashion, whether it comes out the way we're seeing it remains to be seen. But I think it's going to be interesting times. It's the most interesting time to be alive, ever.
Mhm.
I think it's just things are going to come out. It's just going to be spectacular.
Yeah. We've waited a long time for this.
Yeah. And I intuitively keep getting like prepared. It's almost like on a sort of in a physical way, my physical body knows everything's going to be different. So I'm doing really weird things, like I'm preparing a whole food package, like for my son and daughter who now live in Vancouver, so they're not with me, so I can't take care of them. Well, like I'm doing weird things like mother's instinct kind of stuff. So I'm preparing different food baskets for different people that I think might be needy if things go down for a couple of weeks and they're caught unaware. I'm doing these weird things, and I know that I just follow those instincts.
Yeah. Actually, could we look at that, Janine? Because I remember last year, or whenever it was, it's been going on for a good amount of time. But whenever things go down, because there obviously are going to be some that are caught, that maybe haven't prepared and they're just completely caught. I'm seeing things like military being able to kind of give out, if it really goes down in such a way that things like food and water and necessities of life aren't accessible for a period of a few days or a couple of weeks, will there be things like people take heed and follow what Janine is suggesting, but will the military be on the ground and be able to assist people that need those things if they're caught unawares, which I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that are, I think, if it comes down in such a way. Or do we get some kind of lead-in phase, which we had with March 2020? They basically gave us 2 weeks of like, this is going to happen, and everyone realized, okay, they're going to do this, and then we're all scurrying around the shops getting stuff in that we didn't really need in the end. But I wonder what the cards say on that, whether it's going to be as it was in March 2020, or is it going to be quicker, swifter, and will there be provisions, i.e. maybe a military to help assist in that possibility?
Well, we got surrender, so I think we'll have at least 10 days, if not 2 weeks, where we're going to be short of things, and it'll be hard to get things. So you probably want to prepare for situations 10 days worth anyway, right? Just to be safe. And then we've got the sun card. So but the sun, when it shows up in a reading, especially when it's with badly aspected, what always my teacher told me about the sun when I was learning tarot is it shines a light on everything. So there's going to be something that does help. So there's a backup help. Okay. And this card was underneath it. So believe it or not, I think off-worlder or some super soldiers, or I don't know who, but they're not necessarily all just human soldiers with that card. This could be off-world help even, but there's going to be help. So I'm thinking white hats, alliance, there's going to be help, but there will be hardships, and you will, like, if you can do it yourself, that's great. But I think for those unaware, that's where the help steps in.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to just leave people stranded who had no idea, right? That's what I get. Some people will be in trouble, and there's certain areas in the world that could be worse off than others, and that's unfortunate. And that I do get that. So I get there's some areas that could be worse off than others. Okay, so wherever you are, preparing for 10 days, if you're hearing this, is just a really smart idea. But I think there will be help coming for the unaware, especially people that prepared nothing and had no idea, but also I think also helping each other. So that's kind of what I've got certain people that I know aren't listening to this kind of stuff, but I love them anyway, right? So I'm preparing what I can. And if you can afford to be helpful to others, that's a really good idea. Like what happened in the flood in Calgary, everyone pitched in, I think it was 2012 or was it 2013? We had a big flood, and I was in the worst neighborhood. We got flooded the worst. And I've never been helped out by strangers more in my entire life. Entire other communities came and fed us. I also went to grocery stores, collected free groceries, and made meals for days I was the cook, and I was cooking up curries and stews and just kind of food that you could easily feed large masses of people. I had several people helping me. We were cooking up for 3 or 4, 5 days straight while the main cleanup happened. Like, it was brilliant. And I got a feeling there's going to be a lot of help, just good people helping that are aware, and they jump on. I think you're going to see the best in humanity, frankly.
Yeah, I've also been getting, to stock up. Like, we've been talking for 2 years, telling everybody stock up, have stuff. So I think the preparation, people have really gotten on board with it. So we've done a lot of preparing for this thing that's coming. This cup 2 weeks or whatever it's going to be. I think the military is going to be there throughout the world, but we don't all want to rely on it, because that would overwhelm the system. The people that desperately need it, we want to, like Janine's talking about, help them, and the military can help them too. So that's good. So we want to take care of ourselves. I just got a Starlink system. I just got a battery system with solar panels and all kind of crazy stuff. I just got it. I was like, I don't know why I'm getting it, but like Janine, I'm like, okay, I guess I'm getting this. So it's and I have family members that are moving in with me. So there's and they're coming from California. So there's a lot of things that are transpiring right now that I think are coming to a head, and it's going to be for the good. So I think a lot of people out there, that are listening to this can, be calm and cool during these processes. I've been in many situations where places have gone into turmoil in the Middle East during war and stuff like that. People come together and help each other out. And that's what's going to happen. Like Sri Lanka, we know Sri Lanka just imploded. Yeah. But they started sending everybody home from government. Go plant your fields. Go plant rice. So I think they're going to get through this. So that's one of the things I think that's even though we're seeing some problem areas, I think that's going to work out good, because people are going to rely on their local areas. Like I kind of made a joke yesterday. Yeah. In Canada, they probably won't get papayas, but they got polar bear meat, in abundance. I'm just kidding, of course, but you're gonna rely on your local, areas, and things are gonna work out, just like Janine was talking about. And I think that a lot of us are going to do that going forward, and that's part of coming back together, because they separated us, a couple of years ago, really hard, and now we're going to come back together like never before, and it's gonna be amazing, I think. Yeah.
Sri Lanka actually comes to storm Michael 85, so maybe we're on the cusp of it. And you said about the 10 days, Janine, so that automatically made me think of the 10 days of darkness. Is there any correlation between that? I mean, if there is something that causes 10 days of kind of upheaval, is that correlating with the 10 days of darkness?
I got a feeling they meant a lot. So we got a soft yes. Okay. Pages are soft yeses. I feel like there's been several 10 days of darknesses.
Okay.
I feel like it's almost like referring to many different things, not just one instance. Okay. I feel like things are like, and I think we've even had a few of those 10 days of darknesses.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. All righty. Well, the best is yet to come, 228. The hero is yet to come, 228, and the dove is yet to come, 228. So and that also comes to nature is yet to come, 228. So we're coming back to the best of things, the nature and all the other extra special gifts that are coming. So thanks everyone. It's been a real pleasure. It's been great to catch up again, and like you say, Mike, I think it's been a really good, informative episode that I think will help a lot of people. So thank you. And thank you, Janine, as always, for everything. And we'll see you soon. Oh, and also, Janine, where can everyone find you?
Well, Sending Ravens, I'm still there. Okay. But Tarot by Janine, I try to put up daily. And I'm also on Telegram, Tarot by Janine channel. You need the word channel at the end. Yeah, I'm putting up a lot of things on Telegram too.
Excellent. And Michael?
MichaelKJaco.com, and I am on my 9th YouTube channel, Michael Jaco 9. So they'll probably turn out to be 10 for too long, but because I'm not as adept as Janine. She's very good. She's very skilled at weaving her way through this. I'm just muscle in there, and they're like, get him out.
You'll get, when it all reflects, you'll get all your channels back. You'll have like 9 of them. So
yeah. So there.
Yeah,
that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then everyone can find me at Tom Numbers Show, which is my second channel, the Tom Numbers Show on YouTube, and also Psych.Club. Or just type in Tom Numbers and you'll find both of them on YouTube. But the links will be below. So thank you. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Janine. God bless both of you. See you soon.
God bless you guys. Thanks a lot.
Take care. Bye.
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 Bye.